What's up, y'all? I'm PC McCray. You can call me P.
Hey, y'all. My name is Shaun the Head. You can call me Shaun the Head. And this is the Everything Has Changed podcast.
From 2 college roommates to 40-something adults, life has been lifing, and we want to talk about it.
We are the new adults, y'all.
How did that happen?
I don't know, P, but we got to talk about it.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go.
What up, Shaun?
Hey, P.
Hey, girl. Here we are, another day.
Another day, but a good day, right?
A good day.
We're looking forward to today.
It is Super Bowl Sunday. We're recording on Super Bowl Sunday. And I want to give a shout out to the Eagles.
Yes, fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly, Eagles, fly. I want to give a shout out to Jalen Carter of the Eagles. He is a local here in Orlando, Apopka High School. And his mother's a friend of mine and been watching that little boy. Well, he's a grown man now, but have been watching that little boy since like his peewee days, high school. And he's always been dominant on the field, but a gentle giant. He's just a big kid, but he's in his first Super Bowl, and he got his Pro Bowl nomination this year. So they are there. I just pray everybody is safe and healthy, and go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
I love that. I love watching people's dreams come true. You know?
That's
it. I love that. That's like a feeling. That's one of those things you can't like replicate anywhere else. It's just, especially like you watched him grow up and you watched him, excel at his craft, and then that just has to be such a like a heartwarming feeling, Pete. Ooh, that's exciting.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And shout out to his mama, Tonique Brown, because she is his backbone. You know, these boys, these young men need that guidance, and the mamas are right there with them. She hasn't missed a game. She's the one that talks to him when he has a tough game. Just the balance. So shout out to the mamas, football moms or sports moms and dads. But in this case, she's always been there. And so shout out. And we just hope that the game is a good game and that the Eagles win. And shout out to Kendrick.
Please.
He's going to perform. We'll see. Yes. We'll see. And we shall all be prepared for the racism that's going to come after.
What did that man get up there? Travis Kelce. Is Travis the brother or the boyfriend? Why would Travis Kelce and say, as Taylor Swift's boyfriend, that it's an honor to play in front of that man, knowing what he has said about Taylor Swift? Because even if whatever your politics are, if that's your boo, like for real, and this man is out here degrading her, and then even Elon had tweeted talking about, let me impregnate her. I can get.
It's disgusting.
It's gross. Get up there and be like, it's an honor to go sit down somewhere. I can't. I hope. Maybe they are at the end of their. Maybe we just don't know yet. Maybe the public just don't know yet. And you try to blow some steam off. Because I cannot imagine how that would. I just cannot imagine
the Swifties.
Yeah, like come on, sir. Anyway, though. Fly,
anyway,
Eagles, fly.
Go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yes, but here we are with a little bit of breaking news, too.
Yeah, because just a couple of days ago, we got the word that Gotti passed. He had a series of strokes, I think over a certain amount of time, and this last one, he was just not able to recover from. It sounds like it happened pretty quickly, maybe over a couple of days or so. I'm not sure, but he also had strokes before that, which this is just an assumption. I don't know nobody. I don't, but that. Right. It's kind of like you have like heart attacks back to back, or when you have the strokes back to back. It's like your body hasn't had a chance to heal and come back, and then you have another one. So it sounds like this last one that he had, really I don't even know how to explain it, but he's no longer here. And it's
Yeah.
crazy because he was 54. I know he did have diabetes.
54. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had lost weight. So when you would see him out, it would just, he seemed to be doing well, I guess, for the most part, especially if you had health issues. Um, Now his reputation has had its ups and downs, but it was really
Yes.
shocking to like wake up that day. You wake up that day and they say, "Hey, Irv Gotti's he's not doing well. He's on life support." And I said, "Now wait a minute, what?" I said, "I must have missed something." And then by the end of the day, they said he was gone. So prayers to him, prayers to his family. I thought about Ja Rule because I don't know if you remember P, but Ja Rule was my man. It
I know.
I was a Ja Rule man. I
I
had a thing for
know. Oh my
the
God.
short people. Apparently, yeah, Cisco, yeah, Ja Rule. I love me some
What
Ja
would
Rule,
I
and
be
that was
without
like,
you?
oh my God, that was peak Murder Inc. era because Ashanti came
They
out like
were.
our freshman year. That and I was all in, So it is hard. I don't know if hard is the right word. It's definitely weird though. It's just weird when the people that you either grew up with or the people that you grew up really following and stuff. It's kind of weird that you just wake up and they're gone. And so, like everything else, it just makes you look inward as well too. And also shout out to DJ Unk who also passed over the past week. His funeral, his memorial service was yesterday. Here. Um, yeah, and that was also I was in a DJ Unk video. I was in a two-step remix video dancing.
Yeah. On two
So
step. On a two
yeah.
step.
So I still remember 8 count or 2 from that. I had to go find a picture because I know we have a picture. We took a picture that day and I finally found it. I put it up on my Facebook. And he was our age, DJ Unk, like 42, 43.
Yeah. I want our black men, well, black people in general, everybody, just take care of your body, drink your water, take your vitamins, exercise, watch what we eat. We have to take care of ourselves because it seems like you said, the people that we grew up with, these celebrities, these rappers, these men are dying in their like late 40s, early 50s. It's not 60s. They're not getting there. And it's
Yeah.
these or drugs, heart attacks, strokes. We got to take care of ourselves. What was the one, Fat Man Scoop? He had a heart
Yeah.
attack
On
on
stage.
stage at a concert. Like
Oh my God.
so ah, just you got to take care of yourself.
Hey y'all, get your blood pressure checked because all of this stuff is not all related, I'm sure, to like your blood pressure, but with heart disease being the number one killer of women and with strokes and heart attacks and things of that nature, um, you know, I'm no doctor, so I can't speak to how they're caught or anything, but I know that blood pressure can be a piece of that. And it's called the silent killer for a reason because a lot of people don't know or can't tell when they do have high blood pressure. I think people think that, oh, I'm going to feel this way. And yeah, you may feel lethargic. You may be getting headaches, things of that nature. For the most part, people have no idea what's going on with their blood pressure unless they get it checked. And a lot of times people aren't getting their blood pressure checked until they go in for like their yearly appointment or however often it is. So just if you hear this today, take your blood pressure. I don't know if like Walmart still got the little stands where you can go and put your arm in the cuff. I used to love doing
Yep.
that when I was a kid. I didn't even get the whole severity of it. I just wanted to put my arm in the thing. It's probably not even a thing. Like really, really showing my age here.
Yeah.
But if you got a
Because
cuff
they
at
would
the
just
house,
pinch our arms.
yes, yes, put your cuff on. Okay. If you're not going to the doctor for another 6 months, find a way to get your blood pressure checked because, again, it's called a silent killer for a reason. It's because people don't know when their blood pressure is high for the most part, particularly if you don't already know you have blood pressure issues. So, and I'm a person who has had blood pressure issues for over the past decade. We in my family, we get blood pressure issues early anyway. And then on top of that, of course, all the other things like your diet and exercise or non-exercise, all the things. So just if you haven't had your blood pressure checked this year, please go get your blood pressure checked. Just
Please.
sidebar.
And if you are diagnosed with high blood pressure, please take your medication. Don't stop taking your medication. I know
Yeah,
it may
guys.
have side effects and adjustments, but you're on it for a reason. And if you stop
Yeah.
taking it, that's when things happen.
And there's so many different kinds too. If one doesn't work for you, find another. And another thing that happens, honestly, is you may be having medication that works just fine. And then one day it doesn't. I know for me, every time my hormones go through a change, my blood pressure medication has to change because for some reason it will stop working. And I only know that because I've been on an infertility journey and I've been pregnant more than a couple times. And every time I'm pregnant, my hormones go through it, of course, as you would expect, but it also comes back that I then have to change my blood pressure medication because it no longer works for me. So it's really just simple cut and dry stuff like that that can cause you to have to change medication. So don't think it's like anything is wrong with you or abnormal with you or anything like that. Or if you can feel the effects of one medication over another, just keep trying. Choose a different medication, right? Just don't let up on your health though. Please.
Mm-hmm. And I know all too well about what it means to be someone with an illness.
Mm.
In 2014, August 22nd, to be exact, 2014, I had a liver transplant due to an illness. It's called primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC. And every day I am reminded by this scar
Mm.
of my transplant. They call it the Mercedes scar. That's how they told
What?
me about it. And
Why?
because that's how it looks. They cut you from right under your breastplate, come
Okay.
down to your belly button, and then go out to both sides,
Under your breastplate.
just like the So if you look at a Mercedes symbol, you know how they
Yes.
look like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly the scar that's
Okay.
on my belly. Now, first of all, I was diagnosed in 2009. I was in grad school at Florida State. So
Hmm.
still in Tallahassee, grad school focused. I felt fine. I came home for spring break and just did my annual test. Just cause. I was like, all right, whatever. It was my gynecologist, Dr. Ann Ashley Gilbert, and forever to this day, I love her. She saved my life.
Wow.
During that visit, she took blood and she called me. The levels came in and she was like, hey, I know you're in town for spring break. Don't leave town yet. I need you to see somebody. Right. So I'm
Oh my
like,
gosh.
okay.
And I'm sorry, P. What? How old were you?
I was diagnosed at 27. She immediately sent me to a specialist because she said my liver enzymes were up and she knows me. She knew our family. She took care of me
Mhm.
and mom and she knew I wasn't like a heavy drinker and I had a good time in school. We're not gonna lie. But
We got the pictures to
it
prove
wasn't
it.
to the
But okay. Okay.
hey, hey, but it wasn't to the point where I should be having liver issues.
No, you weren't a
And
drinker
so
like
she
that at
knew
all.
right at all. And so immediately she knew something was up. She said, stay in town. I need you to see someone. Went to this doctor. And at the time, they didn't know. They didn't. I went through, from March to August 18th, 2009, that is the day I was officially diagnosed after having all kinds of tests and being poked and prodded and biopsies and ERCP, all kinds of stuff. And August 18th, the reason why I know that was the day my aunt had an aneurysm.
Oh.
And I talked to my aunt on my lunch break every day
Mm-hmm.
at around noonish, noon, 1 o'clock. I was at the doctor's, and so I missed our time to talk. And by
Oh.
the time I missed our time to talk, I had to get back to work. So I didn't call her for my lunch break that day. And I said, well, I'll
Mm-hmm.
call her after work. And after work, that's when, well, my mom couldn't even call me because it's her sister, but my cousin called me and told me that our aunt had had an aneurysm
Oh.
and likely wouldn't make it. But that was the day that they finally figured out what it was. And that doctor told me, he said, oh, yeah, it's primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC. Walter Payton had it. Go look it up. Google it when you go home.
Google it.
Hey friends, we're just getting this podcast going and we're so thankful for your support. If you want to be updated whenever we drop a new episode or when we drop some of the special things we've got coming, head on over to everythinghachangedpodcast.com and drop us your email so you can stay locked in. Cool? Cool.
Exactly. He retired. Yeah. He retired.
Sir, can I get some
He
facts? Is
it,
there a brochure?
you don't ever. It's so rare.
Okay.
So he didn't really know. He was like, I've heard about it, but I've never had a case in my entire career. And mind you, he was towards the end of his career anyway. And so I was like, don't ever tell somebody to go Google anything. And we went to, they sent me to Shan's in Gainesville first to be tested and all kinds of stuff. And Shan's is a teaching hospital. And I'm not against the teaching hospitals. So think of Grey's Anatomy with all the white coats coming in at you, asking all these questions. But they didn't know either. They didn't know anything. And all I remember is the doctor was like, how old are you? I said, I'm 27. He says, do you want to have kids one day? I said, yes. He was like, you should probably do that sooner than later. So, what? Sir? It's too much. You're telling me it's too much going on. So now you want me to have a baby now because I'm going to have this transplant. So ultimately, it's a chronic liver disease that your bile ducts in your liver that helps you process everything start to close up. And so think of it as your bile ducts as a straw in your body. And that's how the bile and all the fluids go through your body. And think of that straw closing up and tightening and twisting.
And
And
now
so
everything
everything
stuck inside.
backs up, which then causes the liver to fail. So what happened where mine was starting to close up was down by the gallbladder. So they thought I had gallstones. So I had gallbladder surgery. During that surgery, that's when they identified the shriveled up, for lack of better terms, of the bile duct connected to the gallbladder.
Okay.
Wild times. Craziness.
Which gallbladder surgery is also not an easy thing either, from what I hear.
No.
And so what you're saying is you having that surgery is what led them to kind of the next step in discovering what it is that you really were dealing with. Maybe they wouldn't have found that, or they would have found it much later down the line if you hadn't had that surgery for gallbladder removal.
Possibly.
Wow.
Yes. Or it would have gotten worse. Because again, I felt nothing. I felt fine. I was fine. I didn't start feeling bad until 2 or 3 years later.
Oh.
I was fine. Yeah. So we get to Shan's, and they weren't giving us what we needed, the information. And so got my packet of medical documentation and sent it to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. They processed it. They said, we'll be in touch. Immediately they call, they say, hey, come on up.
Oh, wow.
The first day we get there and we walk into the liver transplant section, they had a wall of pamphlets that specifically talked about PSC. When I tell you, me and my mom and dad just stood there looking at this wall like, we've been to 3 doctors and a whole hospital in Gainesville of people telling us they didn't know anything about this. And here we are walking into a wall full of pamphlets. I was like, can I take some of these back home? I need to
Was
take
it
a
a
few of these. So I
relief?
want to go back to that
Oh,
doctor's office.
what did you
It
feel?
was, yes.
Okay.
It was like, okay, they can explain this to me, because when you're told you have a illness, one, it's terrifying. And you're saying, oh, I have to have a liver transplant, but it's something that you don't understand. So unfortunately, when someone tells you, oh, I have breast cancer, we've heard of that. I have some type of cancer. We've heard of those things. PSC, what is that? What?
Right.
So a lot of people thought I had liver cancer because it didn't make sense, but I did not have liver cancer. It could have turned into, but I did not. But that first visit where we saw those pamphlets, we were just like, oh my God. I took a whole bunch home because I went back to that doctor's office and I slammed them on the desk of the, bless her
Y'all gonna
heart.
need
It wasn't her. Right. Bless her heart. The front desk lady, it's not you. It wasn't about you. But I say, please, if you have any other patients that have something like this, show them this. And don't have them go Google nothing. Because, of course, I went and Googled Walter Payton and his disease. I knew him as a football player, but I didn't know what he died from. One, I knew that he was dead. And I'm like, you don't tell that to again, I'm 27, sir.
Right.
So we go to the Mayo and immediately they're like, yeah, you have this, it's confirmed. We have to now we did a 3-week evaluation and they tested me like an astronaut.
Oh. They had put all the
They
things on you.
tested
You
me
had
3 weeks of every department from head to toe. And one of the departments was psychology, because you have to be in a mindset to understand you're getting a body part that's not yours, and what it is to be sick, the things that you have to go through. And so ultimately I had to come to a place of, as my body got sick, my mind had to get stronger. I had to have more faith, and just that my mentality had to change. I couldn't be defeated, because that wouldn't help.
In your 20s.
That wouldn't help. In my 20s.
Oh,
And so immediately I sat with that, like, and I had to come to God. Me and some stranger, to this day, I don't know who it is, who my donor was. Were living parallel lives. And this person was just out there living their life. I was living my life, but getting sicker. But at some point, we were going to come to this intersection. And they were going to be gone. And I would have their body part.
Wow, P, wait, because I've heard before about people, that kind of, that, hold on, I need a second.
Yeah.
Because that's, you hear about how people have to come to terms with having someone else's organ inside of them. But what you just said was like, you were living your life and you were getting sicker. And so you were knowing that you were coming to a day where someone else's body was going to help save you. But that person had no idea. So that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother dynamic that I never thought of. But that really is deep, because you were knowing and seeing it coming to a head. Like, you're aware and the other person totally unaware.
This person
I can't imagine what that did. I can't imagine what that does to your thought process.
Girl, faith, praying.
Yeah.
That's when my faith, and a therapist, of course. I had to have a
Yes.
therapist.
Yes.
In my faith walk, I prayed for that person as much as I prayed for myself. I prayed that they were a good person and that they knew God, that they were taking advantage of the time that they had and the people that were around them. I just prayed that they just enjoyed life, because again, either I wasn't going to make it, but that person still, who know, that parallel universe, in a sense, was still going to happen, whether it was for me or for somebody else. That person signed up to be an organ donor. And they called me August 21st at 5 p.m. to come to the hospital. We had to drive from Orlando to Jacksonville. And my parents were out. Let me back up. So we did these 3 weeks of testing, and they finally put me on a transplant list. 2011, I was officially put on the transplant list. I did not get it until 2014. So all of this time, I'm getting sick.
I remember you being, I'm not gonna say being okay at all, but talk to somebody every day. So I'm sure we're going through ups and downs throughout that time period. But I remember talking to you at one point, and you're like, I'm not doing so hot, but I'm also not doing bad enough to be moved up on the list, and I don't really know what's going to happen. You were like the first friend of mine to really go through something so monumental as that, and we were still young. And I remember us having a conversation. So I'm like, so basically, you have to be dying, Pete, for them to call you in for this. And you're like, yeah. And
Yeah.
that, but also I want to ask this question because I remember you saying to me, because you were, look, if anybody know P, she Rattler, so she DIE, she bleed orange and
Hey,
green.
yes.
So you were absolutely coming up. You were going to all the classics and everything. So you were always every Atlanta classic. You were coming up, and we were going out and stuff. And I remember when you started coming for classic, but you weren't drinking. You like, hey, I don't drink no more because I got this thing going on. I don't even really know what it is just quite yet, but I can't really drink. And so just asshole kids that we are, damn, you can't drink, like, just as
Yeah.
asshole as you can be, right? I remember that, but then I also remember you saying, I can't be more than, what was it, 5 hours away from Jacksonville?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Is that the right? Okay, talk about that, because why was that? You could just by somehow coming to Atlanta sometimes, but then sometimes you couldn't, maybe depending on how you're feeling or depending on if you had to go in for more testing, because they had you on a schedule. But that 5 hour thing, what was that about?
Well, once you're listed, you wait for the call. You wait for the call for them to say, okay, we have an organ for you. Come on. And so that was the several rules. They told us to pack a go bag. So our family, my mom and dad and me, we packed the go bag of things that we would need, because once I got the call and we have to go to Jacksonville, I would have to stay up there for 30 days at least. But yeah, I had to be within a 5-hour radius of the hospital, because organs, there's only a certain time that it will still be viable, and you don't want it to go to waste. And so, yes, I would still, and while I was feeling good, even when I was really, really, really sick, I wanted to squeeze the most out of life, because I didn't know. And while I didn't verbally say it to my family and friends, I just would have moments where I would stop and just look at everybody and just take it in. and soak it in because I didn't know. I
Jeez.
did not know. But it opened me up in a way. Also, I was a by the book. I still am. I'm still a by the book person. But it helped me to loosen up and be free and just be like, you know what? Like if I've done everything right up until this point, and I mean everything that I was supposed to do, and I didn't do
Yep.
drugs, didn't do nothing crazy, and I still got this ridiculous disease. Oh hell, well I'm gonna just have a good time.
Wild out.
Nothing too reckless.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Had
all
some
right, well, here
experiences.
we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just did as much as I possibly could. Finally had to stop working and was on disability.
Mhm.
And so all that hard work of schooling and grad school, I finished that. So I was diagnosed that August. I graduated that December. Thank God. So that had that
Okay.
out of the way.
Yeah.
But all of that schooling, watching my peers, all of you all, everybody just going on with life with careers and getting married and having babies and promotions and all these things. And I'm on disability making $1,100 a month
Oh.
and feeling my body fail. And so it started to be where my appearance changed. And I think that's when people really got it. Because before, when I would just talk about it, they're like, oh, okay, because I look the same. But when my eyes started to get yellow and my
Mhm.
skin started to darken. So if I was a white person, what happens is it's called jaundice. If I was
Mhm.
white, the white people turn orange or yellow. Because I'm black, I turned dark black. My skin
Yeah.
became very dark and my eyes were like a neon yellow. And I weighed about 130 and
Mm.
on a 5'9" frame. That's not
I was about to
sexy.
say you're tall.
It wasn't sexy. It wasn't. Looking back now, like, ooh, whoa. I just remember right before my cousin graduated. She graduated from grad school, and my family and I, we went to Atlanta. And before we left, my cousin Jeff gave me a hug, but he wouldn't let go. It was one of those like, ooh. And looking back, I was looking really, really bad.
Mm.
At the time, I had an apartment when I was diagnosed, but
Mhm.
once I got on the list, I moved back home
Mm.
with them. And yeah, as time went, I would walk the house at night because I couldn't sleep. You get insomnia when you have liver disease. Who knew?
Wow.
There's so many things.
Okay.
And I would walk around and I would see my dad in the man cave, and sometimes he'd just be on his knees praying.
Oh.
I would walk to the room if my mom was sleeping, but I'd hear her crying and praying.
Mhm.
Um, and I just would continue to pray too. And again, I'm praying for this person. I'm praying for me and this person. I'm like, Lord,
Yeah.
if I can make it, there's going to be a family out there. My family will rejoice, but another family is going to be losing someone.
Yeah.
And that some days that will weigh so heavy on me. It still does. But again, I tried to do things. I remember that July or June, B had a concert. She was on tour. I think it was the on the run part one. And
Okay.
I went
Yeah.
down to the Miami show. I was
Uh-huh.
like, look, if I gotta go, listen, I gotta still
Yes.
go see Beyonce before I get up out of here. And I must have had a visit. I had to go to Jacksonville, and like every 3 months we had to go up and I had to just be tested and all these things.
Yeah.
And what you were discussing was the MELD score, MELD, and it's a score that's made up of all types of things. But essentially, you do have to be sick, very very sick, but not sick enough where you won't survive the actual surgery.
Um,
So there's this fine line. You got to be sick, but you still got to be able to survive.
So they have like an equation that they do to figure out where you
And it's a
fall on that?
number.
Okay.
And my number kept staying at like 17. And once it shot up to 23 and above is, I think, still considered critical. It shot up to 20, 22, and 23. But I went for that appointment and I was like, hey, Beyonce's having a concert in July. In July. Do
Your
you?
doctor's probably like, this lady.
They did. And by then they knew me, they knew my personality, they knew our family. And my nurse, Amy, I love her to death still. And she was like, you know what? if you feel up to it and can go, however, if you get that call beforehand, there's nothing we could do. You just have to bring your butt back to Jacksonville.
Because
But I
how
was
far
able to
away
go.
is Jacksonville from Miami?
So
Is it
from
over 5 hours?
Orlando
It's not.
to Jacksonville is about 2 hours. And Orlando to Miami is about 3.5, depending on how you drive.
Oh,
So
Lord, it's
still,
right on the edge.
so still within, I mean, yeah, I made it.
That doesn't
I
sound
made
right
it.
within people. Don't. It
I
worked
made
out.
it. And I was exhausted, but I made it. My elixir to help me to just be able to do things, I would be so tired and so fatigued. It really took a lot out of me. I would drink Mountain Dew. And for some reason, that would just pump me up. I know. I was like, I would drink Mountain Dew. So if I knew I was going to go somewhere, I would rest all day in bed, and then I'd drink my Mountain Dew and go. And it was like I would just give it my all. And then by the time I went home, I'd have to be in bed for like the next 2 or 3 days. But I was like, I went.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Yeah. Did you ever get mad, Pete? Was there ever anger?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I went through all of that at the very beginning. So I'm like, yo, I literally was an athlete. I tried to eat right, drink right, work out. We grew up on Dare, so drugs were bad. I never smoked, nothing. When I would drink, I was still the mama. I would drink just enough to still be able to be in control of my surroundings and whatnot. So I was like, yo, I've done everything right, Lord. These people out here wilding. And I got this ridiculous disease that you telling me that what? Huh? Yeah. So I was upset. I was angry, and I started attending a church, the Experience Christian Center. And the first Sunday I went, I didn't tell people at that time. We didn't share what was going on, because it's when you're sick, sometimes you have to process it on your own before you can take on everybody else's emotions. And so I know that's a thing. Some people don't want to talk about it, or some people get upset when people don't share. But when you're processing what's happening to your body and your mortality, you got to work through that before you can bring on everybody else's emotions, whether it's good or bad.
Right.
But I went to this church and I sat in the back, and this lady, Miss Mary, to this day, love her. We got up. The pastor, his message was, my name is better. Just call me better. And being better, being a better Christian, being a better person, just all of those things. And he said, everybody pray for the person next to you. And so you pray. I prayed for Miss Mary. Again, didn't tell anybody. And at this time, I did not look like I was sick. And she said, I want to pray for you. And she put her hand right on the side of my body, above my liver, like right on my liver.
Oh, my God.
And she said, you're going to be okay. It's going to be all right. You're going to make it. I didn't know this lady. I didn't know anybody at the church at the time. I was in the back, minding my business. And when she put her hand there and I'm listening to her and she's praying over me, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, God. So with that moment and his message of being better, I took on that mentality that I claim better. So when my Instagram account is better3701,
Yeah.
better, that is my name. I started t-shirts. I would only answer to better because I have to be better. I claim better. I post still to this day when people post things in their illness. That's what I mean by better. It has the power of you have to take that. It's prayer, it's strength, it's everything that you need. I claim better.
Mm.
My name is better. Do you remember
Mm.
that? You remember I had
Oh,
shirts
yes.
and everything.
You had a whole campaign.
A
Like,
whole
yeah,
campaign.
I absolutely remember this.
That was how I sustained mentally
Mm.
as my body was dying, as I was so tired and all these changes. I would be in bed and sweat. I mean, I'd have to change my sheets at night. I'd have to take another shower in the middle of the night because I would be soaking wet
Mm.
from just everything that happened. Sometimes I'd be so tired from walking to my room to the bathroom. I just have to slide down the wall and just stop for a minute
Mm.
and take a beat. I would get that tired. But that better mentality, I said, I have to do this, Lord. I have to do this. I gotta fight. Gotta fight.
Oh.
Gotta fight. And similar to what you shared, you joined groups of mothers who have autistic children.
Yeah.
I joined a group of finally found a PSC Facebook group. Who knew? Because I thought I was the only person that had this disease.
Mm.
Found that group. And the same thing, sometimes it was too overwhelming because you're hearing
Yeah.
all the bad things that are happening to the people and the different things that are happening to their bodies and members passing. And it was six people I knew that I really was in communication with.
Mm-hmm.
Two of us are living. Out of the
So,
six, there are only two of us remaining. Me and another guy. And I have to be grateful because although I was feeling bad, some of the stories, I didn't go through a lot of those physical ailments. Now, I was sick, but I wasn't that sick.
mm.
And as the doctor says, every body is different.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to affect you a different way. Every body is different.
Do you
And so
still
my
talk to the other
faith,
guy?
yeah, we check in. Yeah, he's here in Orlando, Joe,
Oh,
and he's still
nice.
doing well.
Good.
Yeah, he's doing well. Um, Towards the end, there's a backup of ammonia gets into your system and you forget. And I remember I was
Mm.
driving to church, I was driving to Bible study, and I ended up like almost by UCF. So in Orlando, my church from my house was maybe 15 minutes, and I ended up 30 minutes the other side of
Oh.
town. And I had to tell my nurse, I was like, hey, I'm starting to forget and things are,
Mm-hmm.
she said, yep, the ammonia is building up. And so you can go into psychosis
Oh.
because so much of it builds up into your system. So she gave me a medication that it helps to try to get that out of you. But that's when we know things were really, really happening. And ultimately, the surgeon said, well, we're glad we got you, and we did. Yeah.
What was your recovery like after transplant?
Well, let's talk about the surgery. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah.
The day I got the call, so finally, we've been waiting all this time. I had planned on going to a concert with my friend Diana. Shout out, Diana.
Always
I
you
was
in a
going to do my
concert.
usual.
Okay.
Listen, I'm a music head. I love
Yeah.
music. And I was resting all day. And at 5:00, I was going to start getting dressed. And my parents were out. They were somewhere. And I get a phone call and it's the nurse. She says, hey, it's time. Wait a minute. But get this. She says, we need you to come up, but the person that's ahead of you needs a kidney, a liver, and I think a lung. They needed 3 organs, and everything had to match. So with organ donation, and it's trippy because at the end of the day, we are all the same. I had to make sure the same blood type, body type, that's what mattered. So your blood type has to match, the organs have to match, your body type, and the person above me or that was waiting needed 3 organs. And she said, if this match doesn't match all 3 for that person, then this organ is yours. So we need to come up, and there's a chance it could be a false alarm, but you need to come up. So immediately I called my mom and dad. I'm like, hey, y'all, I got the call, come back from wherever they were. So they rushed back, and I called my friend. I said, girl, I can't go to the concert. Dang it. I was mad. I was mad. And it was sunny when we left. We probably left around 5:30. They got to the house quick, and it was sunny. But once we got on I-4, which is the interstate up, maybe about an hour outside of Jacksonville, the skies got so dark, and it stormed. I mean, you could barely even see. And I just remember my mom driving, and we all were just quiet and praying, but you could not see, and just driving slow to try to get through there. And it was rough. It was rough. But as we got closer to the hospital, it cleared up. And to me, that was the sign. Okay, we're about to go through this storm. We're about to go through a really tough storm, but it's going to clear up and it's going to be all right. So we get to Jacksonville, we get in the hotel, and the nurses like, just wait for our call. If it's officially yours, we're going to call you. So none of us could sleep, of course. We're just waiting. 2 a.m., the nurse calls. She says it didn't work out for the patient before. All 3 of those organs did not match for them. So it's yours. Come to the hospital.
Oh, my goodness gracious. 2 a.m. is when you find out.
Yep.
I cannot
So
imagine mentally.
Girl, and my parents. So 2 a.m. we leave the hotel, and we go to the hospital. She says, just go to the ER. Tell them they already know they're gonna be waiting for you. So they're going to bring you on up. Brought me up to the room. Started getting prepped and everything. Praying. We've been praying. Like nothing. Just praying to God. And finally, so 2 a.m., they took me back at 9 a.m. though. So through 2 a.m. to 9 a.m., they have to do all this prep and get your body ready and all these things. And we're praying, and my mom and dad are right there beside me by the bed. And the anesthesiologist comes in. Well, the surgeon comes in, and they meet mom and dad. Everybody, the team comes in, but they say, okay, we got to take her back to the OR. And I get up out of the bed to go to the wheelchair that they had for her. And the anesthesiologist was like, oh, you can walk? Oh, come on. We're going to walk. You're going to walk with me. Because, and he said, the reason for this, most of our patients can't walk. They're that sick that they have to be wheeled in. And you seem strong to me. I want you to walk. So you know what? Come on, let's walk. So I'm arm in arm with this man. And, my person, we're teasing, he was a Gator, of course. And, me and my dad went to Florida State.
Okay.
I went to Florida State. And so we had this banter going. And so I'm walking arm in arm with this man. And I remember leaving the room and giving hugs to my mom and dad. Of course, they didn't want to let me go. They didn't cry, but I heard them. So I'm walking, and when I turned the corner, I looked back, and my mom was just in my dad's arms, just so, oh, Jesus.
Only child.
I am their only child. And so I said, Lord, I got to get back to them. And so I'm walking with this man, and we get up in the elevator and we go to the operating floor, and I'm walking, and I see people, they're all shocked as I'm walking by these other people in the hospital. They're like, whoa, nobody's ever walking down here. They're being rolled in. And so I get to the room, and again, a Grey's Anatomy scene. It's like 10 people in this room with the hats and the mask over their face, the scrubs. And he introduces me. He says, everyone, this is Phyllis McCrae. She has walked in here, and you know we don't have that. And we're going to take good care of her, aren't we? And they all start applauding. And I'm like, oh, this is so Grey's Anatomy. And then they walk me to this table. It's so Grey's. They walk me over to the table, and it's cold. Because, of course, you have this gown on, but nothing else.
Yeah.
It's this cold, hard table. And as soon as I get placed on the table and they say, okay, lay back, they all start working like a NASCAR team. If you ever seen a NASCAR race, you know, when they pull up to the pit and they're pushing stuff and everybody had a job. Somebody was at the top of my head and they were putting things on my shoulders, on my arms. And I'm like, whoa. And at that time, they had me connected to the heart machine so I can hear it beeping off. Because that's when I start to freak out. So like, wait a minute. Hold on. Y'all are moving what is happening? Y'all are moving too fast. And there was a nurse above my head and a nurse to my right. They had me, so almost like a snow angel. You had to lay out like that on the table. And all these people have, their arms out, and I'm stretched out. And the nurse, all I could see is her eyes because they have the cap on and a mask. And she just starts rubbing the top of my head. And the man to the right, he's a black man. He started rubbing my hand. He just started rubbing my hand. And I had to breathe. And I just started talking to Jesus.
Yeah.
I just started praying. I was like, okay, God. Okay. And I heard the machine kind of slowing down. My heart is coming down. No more of the beeping. It's not blaring off for anything. And he says, okay, we're about to give you the medication. And if you've ever been on a surgery where you had to go under, there's that countdown that they say that you do.
Yeah.
And instead of counting down, I'm praying. I was like, I'm just, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And that last count was Jesus. And next thing I know, it's the next day. But what I didn't know is they got my parents again, Grey's Anatomy. I keep referencing it because they do such a good job. You know, when they're watching the surgeries, that bay area that they have where the students can watch from the top. I did not know that they took my parents up there. Not this whole surgery, but just the beginning, just to see where I was, to see them getting me ready. And just to see that. And then the nurse took them away from that room. I did not know that. Wow. At that time, I felt so alone. All these people, but they were strangers, and they were just touching my body, and they were doing all this stuff. Until that lady touched my head, and he touched my hand. He was rubbing my hand. I was okay. It was that human touch, that feeling where I was okay. It was centered. It centered me back to you're not alone. You're not alone. They're here to take care of you. You're gonna be okay. Because I didn't know what I was gonna wake up to. It's just the surgery itself was 8 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
Goodness gracious.
8 hours. and they have to remove the old one.
Um,
And that's a process. And then it's a process of putting in the new one. And as my mother and father told me, they would give them constant updates. Okay, so we have her under now. Okay, we've taken out the liver. Okay, she's this throughout the day. They told me they tried to go to get something to eat because the nurses were like, listen, you have to take care of yourself because she's going to need you. Okay, so they tried to eat. They said they went to the beach. If you've been to Jacksonville, the Mayo Clinic is like 10 minutes from the beach.
nice.
They said they both just tried to walk. They walked and cried and prayed, cried and prayed, cried and prayed the whole time. Again, I'm knocked out. I don't know. But the next day, or when I'm coming to, all I remember is hearing my mother's voice. She was in my ear, and I was mumbling because I was starting to come to a little bit. And I just remember saying, Mama.
Oh,
So I was like, Mom. She was like, oh, I'm here. She said, I'm here. I'm here. It's okay. You're okay. I'm here. Mama's here. Mama's here. She was right there on my ear. And I heard her voice so clear. She says, you're okay. You're okay. I'm here. And I went back under, like I wasn't fully awake. Until like the next day, really.
yeah.
But that moment was so powerful because I couldn't see her, but I could hear.
You could have possibly still been, like so far under and deep sleep or rest, whatever your body has to go through during that recovery day, to have missed that, even to have gotten that in the moment, but forgot, because you're under drugs and everything. So the fact that you can recall that happening before you weren't awake yet. So you heard that, and then
I
you were
heard it.
able to hold on to that. Like your body still remembers that, even though you really you had not come to yet. So that's actually even more so. And so that you can recall that and those exact words from your mom in your ear. Now, over 10 years later, and you really need those words now,
Yes.
It feels
More
like
than ever.
for 10 years, like there's a connection, it's just like all connected. It was a different circumstance that you all were going through, but it still holds the same weight today in a different circumstance. I'm thankful that that your body heard that and that you kept that.
And I had to, looking back, I had to have been to a place where because I was intubated.
At the
And
time when she was
for
talking to
me
you?
to eat,
Wow.
I could not have been. 'Cause I remember moving my lips or trying to. Or heck, maybe in my mind, I was saying mama out loud.
Yes.
But I think they had removed the tube by then, and I was able to breathe on my own because I remember mumbling mama, and that's when she came to me, and then I felt her. But when I finally woke up, and they came in, and that's when they said, we're glad we got you when we did. And they got me up. They say, we got to get you up. It's going to hurt.
Same day.
But same day.
Well, they were not playing with you.
I'm guessing this is the second day. So that if we're using the time and all that. Second day, they said, okay, we got to get you up. You can't just lay here. It's going to hurt, but to make sure that the body is moving and functioning, And the nurse that was with me, Dr. Harnoy, and there's another nurse, bless his heart. He says, okay, in about 2 days, you're going to feel like you've been hit by a truck.
Oh,
Okay. I'm going to let you know now. Now, I still have tubes all in me and just everything. Um, but we got you. We're going to manage your pain. We're going to watch you. Because the first 24 hours, 48 hours after are very critical because you have to see if your body rejects the organ. It could be a blood pressure issue, like you said, stroke, pneumonia, all these things because it's been a traumatic event for your body.
well, hold on. What happens if your body rejects the organ, but your original organ is already gone? What happens?
You're placed back on the list and you have to go back in if you are strong enough to do that. And there are
After
people,
this? Well,
yeah, there are people who've had multiple transplants, 2 or 3, because the rejection comes and they have to go back in. Praise God. I did start to reject in 2016, but I never had to have to go back
2 years
for,
later.
yeah, yes.
Is there like a general estimate that they give you to where, hey, your body might reject it? Maybe you got good 5 years. If you hit the 5 year mark, you know you're good. Is there
It,
any
you don't,
number?
you don't know. You don't know. And again, from being on the table, you have to survive the actual surgery.
Yeah.
And in that time after, I was in the hospital 10 days after. And like he said, once the powerful drugs that they used to put you under for the actual surgery wore off, they then started to replace with different types of drugs. But that day too, like he said, I could barely talk. And my parents were there all the way. But the stress, the fatigue that they were going through, they were just tired and they were just kind of bickering because it was just stressful. Like you said, their only baby is up here laid up, and I'm like, oh, just so uncomfortable. And I remember they had the newspaper, and I could just hear it crumbling, like as they were opening. They were quiet, but they were turning the page, and she's like, "Chris, do you have the business section?" Or he was like, "Well, I thought I gave it to you already." Now I'm hearing them; they're trying to whisper. I'm like, "Oh my God, if y'all please." And if I moved, are you okay? Are you okay? What's
Yeah.
and so it was making me even more agitated, and I couldn't rest. And so the nurse came by. He whispered in my ear. He says, "Would you like me to tell them to leave and go to the hotel so they can rest and you can rest?" And I said, "Yes, please." So essentially, I had to kick my parents out. I had to kick them out. I kick them out because it was just for all of us to be able to really just take a minute. And so he said it so nicely. He says, "Hey guys, listen, I know this is a lot. I promise you, I got you. You need to rest for her, but she needs to rest.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing you guys. You guys are tired. You've been in this room this whole time. Go get something to eat. Go to the hotel. We promise you, we will call you." And he said, "I got her. Don't you worry. I got her." That team, I mean, this is what they do. The transplant floor. He says, "I got her. And trust me, please, I need you to rest so she can rest." And I felt bad. So I'm like, oh, I kicked them out of the room. But because they were trying to be quiet, but they weren't.
And then you done put it on the nurse too. Like I didn't have anything to do with this guy. I didn't even know he asked you
Because
to.
he peeped it. He knew. Yes, he knows this stuff because they would ask, "Are you okay?" They would jump in. I'm okay, guys. I'm not okay, but I'm okay. But I can't even talk. It hurts that bad. I can't even talk. And y'all keep asking me questions. But it was for their good. They needed to go get some rest, and I needed to rest. But it was so funny looking back now. So I had to kick them out. I had to kick them out. But they were so stressed. It hurt
Oh.
so bad. It hurt so bad. And at the time, the hotel had, or the hospital had a hotel connected to it. So literally all you had to do was
Oh,
like walk
nice.
through this hallway, and it was set up, it was called the Mayo Inn, and they were set up like
Oh,
the mini apartments. So we had the
that's
mini kitchen and the
genius.
refrigerator, 2 bedrooms and the living room. It was like a little apartment. They
Oh,
tore it down now. It's a parking garage now, but at the time
what are
it
folks
was
supposed to
perfect.
do?
Other hotels, there are other hotels around that, but
I guess.
that was genius.
Yeah.
Um, so he was like, "Look, just go. You're right there. You can come back. I promise. But for now, just she needs to rest."
Mm.
And it was painful, but those day 3, 4. But then I had to get walking, and so I had a playlist. I made a playlist
Yeah.
because I'm a music head,
As you do.
and it was almost like a training. So each time it would go from the bed to the front door, from if I could make it from the bed to the nurse's station, and then come back. And then each day just make a round, and I'd have my little music on my walker. It's a stand-up walker, and they knew when I was coming. It wasn't too loud or disturbing, but the nurses would like cheer me on because I had like
Uh,
Survivor and Christina Aguilera, Fighter,
yeah.
makes me that so stronger, just all that stuff. Make me
That's what makes
that
me.
fighter. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they looked forward to me coming around
I bet they
and
did.
cheering me on as I'm walking and trying to get stronger and stronger. And so the 2 weeks in the hospital, then we went over to the hotel, but still
Okay.
daily had to come back and forth to get checked out. And I still had staples in my stomach. It was very painful. I accidentally dropped my phone on my belly.
Oh my God.
I was in the recliner and I was on my phone and it slipped out of my hand.
Mm.
Girl, I, it is just a flash of white
Oh
pain.
no. Take me
And
now, Lord. I made it through all this, but that's
that slow teardrop just
you
came.
did that, tear.
Oh my God. It hurt so bad. I just
Man.
had to get up and go to the bedroom because again, the apartment I had a room and my parents had a room, and just take my pain medicine. My dad was like, "Oh no, are you okay?" I was like, "No, but I'm gonna be okay."
Yeah.
Oh God, girl. And so I had the staples, but before we were to leave to go back to Orlando, they had to take the staples out. That's their heart. A nurse was supposed to come um, to the hotel to help us because even though your body is healing, but there are certain parts that take a little bit longer. So
Mm.
part of the side on my right side still hadn't closed up. So about
Mm.
2 inches and
Mm.
maybe three, if you put 3 inches, 2.5 inches deep was
Oh
still
my
open.
goodness. That's
So
a big,
I had an
that's a
open
large
wound.
size. Yeah.
It was huge. It was huge and deep. And so they had me bandaged up and covered. But the day I was flat on the bed and the nurse was supposed to come to pack it again and just make sure that it was neat and tidy. Well, the nurse didn't show up, but
Excuse
they had
me.
called and said she's on the way. So if you come and get everything ready. So here I am laying on the bed, exposed with the thing open. And my mom and dad had to come into the room and they both almost passed out.
Oh
Mom,
my
actually, I think
God.
she almost did pass out because she just had to grab the wall and she went out of the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, just go get her. But I couldn't move.
Oh,
I could not move. I'm just laying there, and all I had is my phone, and we're calling, and they had to walk us through we had materials there. But so when Dad got Mom into the room, he said,
no,
she just had to
ma'am.
lay down.
No,
She
ma'am.
had to lay
Wait, your
down.
parents had to pack the wound down? What happened to the
Yeah.
nurse? Did something happen to her?
Some miscommunication. They didn't
Oh,
come. They didn't come.
oh
And
my
so
goodness.
the nurse that I had on the phone,
Mm.
it was like, I'm going to walk you guys through it. And so once Dad got Mom in the room and settled, bless her heart, because I do think she did pass out.
Oh,
He had to come back in, and he was terrified. But he said, okay, we got to do it. So we're listening on speaker. He says, Mr. McCrae, you got to get your gloves and you got to get the gauze. And we had the solution and everything. He says, you have to push the gauze into the wound. Use the tools. They had the long Q-tips. I know, trigger warning. Sorry if it's too graphic. But you got to get the gauze and you have to push it down into the wound.
mm.
And he was terrified. He was scared. He was hurting me. But
Yeah.
honestly, that part was still kind of numb. Oddly
Okay, good.
enough, it was wide open, but it wasn't as painful as you would think. So he had to push it down in there, all the gauze, and pack it. And
Mm.
they told him how to cover it up and irrigate it, all that stuff. And so finally we got it. And once we figured out how to do it, that was me and Dad. That was our thing. He would day and night, and the body really heals itself. Each
Mm.
time it would slowly but surely close it up so it wasn't as deep. It would get a little bit shallow each time. And maybe a month later or so, I was able to do it on my own because it wasn't
Okay.
that deep. I just kind of
Yeah.
say, all right, let me just go ahead and push it in there and cover it up, make sure I'm okay, double pad it up. Because they needed to make sure everything was okay before we went back to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And we came back home, and my mom wasn't playing no games. No visitors, nobody.
Mm. None of
Because I
y'all
had
germs. Mm-mm.
I had the immune system of a newborn, is how they
Mm.
described it. And it was you just had to be very, very careful. But what happened also is survivor's remorse kicked in.
Oh.
My nurse would call and check in on me, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I'm grateful that I'm alive, that this happened, but that's when it really hit me that person that I've been praying for all this time, that family
Yeah.
is gone. And it took me a while to write the letter. So what they do, they ask you to write a letter of thanks and gratitude, and they, the middleman. You send it to your nurse practitioner. They send it to, and so you don't know unless that family wants you to know.
Okay.
And to this day, I've never heard from. I don't know who it is. I still pray for that family. If there was somebody that survived, because you don't know the situation. What if it was
Right.
a family in a car accident? You know what I mean? Like you don't
Right.
know. But I pray for them. The first couple of holidays after transplant were the hardest for me because, again, I'm grateful. I'm celebrating with my family, but I'm thinking of this other family
That's that
that
empath
has
in
somebody
you.
missing at their table. That's that
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, because I don't.
Oh, that Thanksgiving, I cried so bad. I was so grateful, but I cried. And my nurse said, this is normal. This is normal.
Okay.
Some people feel it. Some people really, she says, it's because you care, ultimately. She's like, you
Yeah.
care. But because of my size, most likely it was a child or
Really?
or a small, a female that matches my size, or a very thin man,
Okay.
because it had, the organ has to fit your body. And so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be somebody, Shaq's organs are huge. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you don't think of I didn't know. You don't think
Yeah.
of those things, but it has to be a certain body type. So all these things have to align for this transplant to work and you survive after it.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle, though it's in medicine, but it's also a miracle because things can go like that. They called me textbook. As I was progressing, the doctors would come in and they're like, you're defying the odds. And I say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God.
Not you defying
And
gravity.
have continued just to be defying gravity, girl. And look, wait, I had one of the doctors that came in and check on me. This is while I was still in hospital. His name was Dr. Rodriguez. Now, he was cute.
Okay.
And my dumb ass
Hey, doctor.
laid out in this gurney with tubes coming out my neck and everything, trying to prep myself. Hey, Dr. Rodriguez. Good morning, Dr. Rodriguez. How you doing? He graduated from the University of Miami. So we would talk, sports and hey, doctor, where you do his rounds. Hey, Dr. Rodriguez, how you doing? I said, this girl, you are laid up in a hospital looking crazy, smiling at this doctor.
No, smiling hard.
While he's here to take care of you. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Rodriguez. So every day is a blessing, honestly, that I have to give thanks. And what caused me to reject in 2016, I have to take 2 anti-rejection medications. And one in particular on the bottle, it says will cause birth defects. It's right there on the bottle.
Oh.
And I wanted to one day have children.
Yeah.
And so my team was like, okay, we're going to try to switch your medicine. We're going to get you on another medicine, get rid of that one, because people can have kids after transplant. That is possible.
Okay.
Because everybody is different.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right circumstances. And so they tried to take me off of that medication and put me on another one. And immediately my numbers started to go back up. It started to get bad. And my nurse was like, hey, no, your body likes this combination. Your body says these 2 medications is what it is. And I had to grieve the idea of giving birth to a child.
Yeah.
And because I knew I couldn't hurt my baby. Like,
right.
I can't hurt my baby knowingly. Things happen just on their own. Childbirth is an absolute miracle.
Yes.
But if I willingly know this medication that I'm taking will cause birth defects, no.
So how old were you when you found that out? You said it was 2 years out. So like 34?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because I had the procedure at 32. And so, 34, when I started to really think about like, okay, I'm good. I'm healthier now. Like, let's try to look toward the future. And it just, that was 2016. I had to grieve the idea of never being able to have a biological child.
Where are you at with that now? Because you've had to grieve not being able to physically have children. Have you decided, or have you just not decided at all? You're like, hey, day by day. Or has it been like, I can't do that, so then I just won't have children at all? Or are you a person who thinks of adoption, or you just kind of let go of having children in general?
At this point, I've let it go. I've realized I'm just going to be a mother to everybody else. and be the cool auntie and godmommy. And not because I'm against adoption. I would adopt. Absolutely.
Okay.
I wasn't cut off to the idea of not having a child at all. What happened was in 2016, after I had to deal with that, my dad got like deathly sick in 2017.
Yeah.
Like we almost lost him.
hmm
And then 2018 is when my mother was diagnosed with dementia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bringing in a baby, that was the farthest thing from my mind because I had to care
Yep.
for these two.
Yep.
My parents became my responsibility.
hmm
And so not adding a child into that just didn't make sense. And now dealing with mom up until when she passed, that still. And now I'm
You still
43 and it's like, oof, girl, I'm tired. I'm
and
tired.
you still caring
When
for
I
your dad.
babysit, I'm still caring for my dad.
Mhm.
And when I do get like my godson, he's 14 months, and his little butt, when he comes over, when it's time to take him back to his mom and daddy, or they come pick him up, ooh, ooh, all
They
right.
can't come
I
fast
love you.
enough, huh?
Bye. Bye.
That's the best part,
You
and then
know,
you can say bye.
keep
Yeah.
keep it for the weekend and be like, ooh, when your daddy come to get you?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So I think I'm okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'm okay with not having like my own, but I love the babies and the children in my life like they are my own. It may be too much because I'm like, how I stress about them more than the parents do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I can't even imagine how I would be with my own child. I do because I know I would probably be like my mother. She was very, mama
Yeah.
didn't play about me. She
Yeah.
was my protector. And I see that in myself and how I take care of kids when they're in my on my watch. Oh
Mhm.
no, they not a scratch nor harm will
Mhm.
come to your baby when they're with me. I mean, I take notes. Okay, they had a wet diaper at 2 o'clock. They had a
Uh-huh.
number 2 diaper at 3 o'clock. They didn't sleep. I want you to know your baby is okay. That's the type of mama I am. So I'm a mom, but not biologically. But it was a grieving process. Because again, you're taught, that's what we're taught. We're raised to
Yeah.
go to
You do this
school
and then
and get
this.
a career
Yeah.
and have a child and all of that.
I remember people were
All that
freaking out
stuff.
when we were graduating, and they were like, "I
Hmm.
didn't find my husband," and I was like, "We are
Hmm.
22." Yeah,
But
I
for
you
some
know,
people,
yeah, that's what they're told, and or even just society in general. I grew up, under with a single mom, and so I've come to realize that my perspective on things is different, and my priorities
hmm
have been different just because either of how she raised me or what her responses were to what the world would say. But
hmm
I remember when we were graduating, that was the first time I was like, oh, people really believe this. And not believe like, oh, it's a bad thing to believe, but like, no, people really live their lives like this. Like over the past 4 years, I'm supposed to find the person I'm going to marry, and then we're going to leave here. But I want to say, Pete, it takes a really, really, really special person to have had to deal with the things that you've had to deal with. And in particular, from the age when you had to start dealing with them, and not just
hmm
physical, because physically, right, it may take a certain kind of person. But everything that you've described and that you had to go through, and you've had to grieve so many things from probably your social life, clearly your concert schedule, okay? Then you had
I
to
mean,
grieve
yeah.
like it's so much that you had to grieve and sacrifice, and then you had to mentally be in a place where you could handle all the grief and sacrifice. And then you were knowing you were walking into that grief and sacrifice. Because it's one thing for something to happen to you out of the blue. You walk outside, you get hit by a bus or something, but you were on a journey where they were like, hey, you don't even feel it yet. this is what's about to happen to you. And then you had to get mentally to a point, and then when you started to feel it, then I'm sure that had another dynamic where it's like your mind and your body had to keep shifting. So it's like what we were talking about last episode. You had to keep shifting so that you could wrap your mind around what's happening, because if you weren't able to start at least wrapping your mind around it, that could be catastrophic. And that don't even bring in the biology part of everything that was happening to you. It take a special kind of person, P. Even the way when you describe your story and your empathy towards the organ donor and their family, or it still affects you to this day. Like you are still physically affected by that. Like that still made you emotional. It just takes a really special. I don't like calling people resilient and stuff, because it's like I didn't choose to be resilient. I'm just still happy to be here after all the things.
Right.
But I want to say it just takes a special kind of person for you to have dealt with and been dealing with and still dealing with and still being a caregiver. You know what I mean? And still having to be a caregiver while grieving your other parent, and then having to deal with like your dad's grief for losing his wife, and all of this is like boom, 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 boom. It's like it hasn't let up. And you've had to remain at a certain level. I hesitate to say you've had to remain okay, because I would imagine some days are not okay. But you've had to be in a place where you could take the hits and still get up the next day and keep going. You're just a special person, P. Everybody can't do that. Everybody's not built like that. And half the time we don't even know till the stuff happens. Then you find out, I can't even deal with this.
Yeah.
Right? It takes a special kind of person, Pete, for you to even have the personality that you still have, all of that.
Yeah.
God equipped you. And you didn't even know. But God equipped you for this life.
Thank you.
And that's literally the only explanation for any of this to have happened to you, for you to still be moving through with grace, as you say. You're just a special person, P.
Thank you, friend. I received that. It is not easy. And there are days where I be like, now, God, look, now, what? We need to talk. What is going on?
Tap it out today.
But once I knew, like you said, I'm either going to get too sick and will pass on, or I'll be sick and have this life-saving transplant. I didn't want to leave the earth angry or bitter or upset. And so I had to change my mentality. That's what that better encompasses all of that. I was angry. I was upset. I was pissed off. Like, what? But after thinking about it and really sitting in it, if I'm going to leave this earth, I don't want to leave angry. I don't want to leave upset. I want to leave soaking up as much of life that I can, enjoy the people that are in my life, enjoy the things that I can enjoy, and have joy and positivity and keep the positive mindset. Because you're right. If my mind wasn't strong enough and I just gave up and I was like, that would have affected my body even more. I truly believe that as your body declines, your mind has to get stronger to help you with that. Yeah. And by the grace of God, with faith and prayer and Jesus, my personal relationship with Jesus and my therapist, come on, somebody.
Yes.
That's how I've been able to get by and make it through. And again, I still wasn't working. I didn't get back into the job field and to start a career until April of 2018. So here I am, all degreed up.
Yeah,
I got all these degrees and I'm ready, and 2018 was the first time. Well, I tried to work in 2017. Disability has this work. It's a thing to try to reintegrate you back into the workforce. And so I tried, but I kept getting sick because as soon as I got into an office, again, your immune system, it's still new.
And the
It's
work
still new,
environments
so I would get
be
sick.
toxic.
In your office, everybody coming, sneezing and stuff, and so I kept getting sick, and then Dad got sick. So that took me away. But 2018, and so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got to catch up. Because on social media, I'm seeing all my peers, they're buying houses and promotions and being bosses, and all these FAMUans are doing amazing things, and we are that. But I'm like, yo, I am about to take a job that's paying me 17. It was 17,000, and then 34. It was just something.
Yep.
But once I got in, I had to okay, I'm focused. I got to try to get this promotion, and I really pushed myself too hard. And remember when I said in 2019 is when I got myself sick because I was doing too much physically, trying to work and play catch up, and dealing with the grief of my dear friend Tamara.
Yes.
That's another story. We'll talk about that. But I made myself sick because my body still daily, I have to take care of myself because it's still, I go every year to the Mayo. They do a full evaluation. Last year, I celebrated 10 years post-transplant. Praise God.
Yes.
And the liver is fine. It's doing what it needs to be doing. I'm doing what I need to do. I still have bad days where I get tired. And I have to be careful. And of course, the pandemic was so scary. It's still scary because we're still in it.
I can imagine.
We pretend like COVID's not out there, but it's still there.
Yeah.
But doing my best to take care of myself, mind, body, and soul. And now with this grief on top of that, it has really been a struggle. This is a different type of grief.
Yeah.
Because the person that helped me through all of that, my partner in crime, is the person I would go to, that I could talk to. Mama, I'm stressing out today. And she would know. She could look at me and tell me, "You're not feeling well today, aren't you?" And I'd be like, "No, okay, I'm good," because I didn't want to worry her. And she's like, "No, you're not. You don't feel good. You need to sit down. Do I need to take you to the hospital?" And I'm like, "No, Ma, you don't have to take me to. I'm fine. I'm fine." I ended up going to the hospital. She could see it.
Yeah.
She could look at me and tell, "Yeah, you don't feel well, do you?" I'm okay. And now she's home. So the last checkup last year, I was doing an ultrasound. They have to do like an ultrasound of the liver in that area. And the nurse, the technician had music playing in the background. And "I Will Always Love You" came on, Whitney. And for some reason, so Mom passed, and this was in November. I just started to cry on the table, and the technician, she's like, "Oh my God, am I hurting you?" I'm like, "No. It's just I lost my mom in the song. It just sounds like she's talking to me." Because what's the lyric? Of course, the way she. Yes,
I
would only be in the. So I'll go.
Yeah,
But
that's
I know it
that's
told me.
Yeah, that's it. That one would, in that circumstance, absolutely.
And it was one of those whimpers, like it started as a tear because I'm on my right side, I'm on my left side as she's doing the ultrasound. So it's like a slow tear, she's falling, and I start shaking, and it's like a full weep. And that's when the nurse, she's, "Oh my God, am I hurting you?" And then I tell
Yeah.
her, "No, it's because my mom died." And she's, "Oh my God." So she
my God.
starts to cry. We're both in
Oh,
this room.
no.
It's like,
Oh,
I
lady.
know you got to finish the test, but hold on a minute. She's like, "I
Yeah.
know, you take your time. It's okay." She's like, "Do you want me to turn off the music?" I was like, "No, no, no. It's just, I just had a moment. I'm sorry. Let's just finish the test. I know you got to do it." But yeah, she was there through it all, and she's still here. She is still here. She always wanted me to take care of myself. You got to take care of that liver. You have to be okay. You have to live. And so I have to live, and I do my vitamins. You take your blood pressure. You go to your appointments. And here's my message as we wrap this up. Sometimes it's scary. Well, it is scary if you're getting test results that are questionable and your doctor's like, "Hey, we have to run these tests." Some people run away. They won't go.
Yep.
They won't go to the doctor because you're afraid of what they will say.
Yep.
Yes, that's scary, but you gotta go so you know what you're fighting against. And if your faith is strong, you and Jesus, you're gonna make a plan. And now you have this medical stuff. You're coming in with your protection, and you're covered, and you have your faith empowering you. So please, anyone that's out there listening, if you've recently received some bad news, if you're waiting to call the doctor back because you're scared, if you're starting new treatment, your mind, keep your mind strong. Stay prayed up. Keep your mental positive. You have to believe that you're going to be better. You have to. You have to say it. Believe that I am better. I will be better. Just call me better. That's my message.
Good.
I am better.
Chill. That's so good.
I am better.
P.
Yeah.
You helped somebody today, P. You sure did. You probably helped some people that don't even know it yet, you know?
I
Yeah,
hope
you helped
so.
somebody.
Because when I did start sharing, I would receive DMs and messages that, "Hey, I was just diagnosed with this and I haven't told anybody yet, but you've been really inspiring me to." So I want to continue that. Please go get yourself checked out. Take care of yourself. Don't be afraid. Be afraid. It's okay to be afraid, but don't run away. You're going to face it and know that you have your prayer warriors behind you. But you got to have your mindset. Get that mind right.
Ooh, P. Okay, how can people reach out to you, P, if they want to, if look, some more DMs in your inbox?
I know.
Right?
Come
Yeah.
to me. Come to me. Now you know why my Instagram handle and most of my social media handles are better 3701, because I am better. Or you can reach us at the everythinghaschangedpodcast.com site or our Instagram page.
Well,
How about you, Shaun?
Our website doesn't have the, but for our Instagram, we had to put a "the" up there because you know how people just take your stuff. I'm lying. People take your stuff before it even exists. No, I'm joking. But yes, our Instagram, you can find both of us. That's at the Everything Has Changed podcast. I am at Hey Shaun the Head on Instagram and Threads as well. Pete, thank you for sharing this story. You know, we've been talking for a second about you giving the full glory of your journey that's still continuing on. So thank you for sharing it with the people today. People People need to hear that.
Amen. Go get yourself
I'm
checked.
very clear of that people needed to hear that today. So thank you for sharing that with our audience, P. You're the best.
Of course. I try my best. And it will continue to drop nuggets because that was just the quick version. But
yeah, quick and dirty.
Yes, you're so crazy. Reach out. We want to hear from you. Leave us messages, leave us feedback, comments, and we just thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys, and we'll check in with you next week.
Want to stay locked in with us so you never miss an episode? Visit everythinghaschangedpodcast.com and join our email list. That way you'll be the first to know about new episodes and all the fun stuff we have coming your way. Meet us over there.